Hello everybody and welcome along to another edition of the Rebel White Ball, and I suppose we'll start by acknowledging the good news that the schools of the country reopened this morning. I think it was the right decision for everybody involved, from parents, pupils and all of the staff. I'm not saying there wasn't without challenges, and that will continue for a while this pandemic is with us, but I think there's absolutely no doubt in the world that children are better in school. They're better off being in school than all of the remote learning, and I know huge advances have been made in all of that, and maybe sometimes in the future again, but for this moment in time, and particularly maybe the children that come from certain disadvantaged areas. And I have no doubt that if we speak with any member of the teaching staff or SNA staff, they're only too glad to be back there. Anyway, as is the case with this particular broadcast, sports is what keeps us going, if you wish. And this weekend is a huge weekend for two Cork clubs, in particular Camogie Rovers and Ballygiblin, in that they're involved in Munster finals. And thankfully those finals would take place, and from what we gather, both teams haven't any major issues. I'm not saying that there hasn't been COVID in those areas. Of course there has been COVID everywhere, but there is a clean bill of health so far as can be possible at this time. For Camogie Rovers, they become the third club from the Southeast Division to attempt to win this championship. Ballinhassig won it back in 2005 and Ballymartin in 2010. But Camogie Rovers in reality are a West Cork club, and some of our more mature listeners, those on the planet and those in the heavenly skies, will be aware that Camogie Rovers actually were in the Camogie division, I would say. So they are in every sense of the word a West Cork club. So if they win on Sunday, and it is going to be a big if, they will become the most westerly winners of this competition as far as I can gather. They place a Kilmoyley team that are there on merit, and Kilmoyley, of course, they're trained by John Moyler, who was involved with Camogie Rovers 10 years ago. And John Moyler has a huge, track record in terms of coaching. And this Kilmoyley team, they beat a very strong Tipperary representative, Mine Temple Toohey, and then they followed that up with a victory over Dunhill of Waterford. And when you look through some of their players, I mean, they've represented Kerry. They're from that area, North Kerry, where hurling is so important. Colm Savage is a really good defender, and so is Dougie Fitzwell. They operate the full-back and centre-back position. And then, of course, you have Daniel Collins operates at centre-forward, got 7 points the last day. The two O'Connor brothers, Paddy at midfield and Morris up front. I think he scored something like 1-3, and Darren Nolan is another forward. But make no mistake about all of this, they are the Kerry Senior Hurling Champions, and the only thing, obviously, that prevents Kerry from being a bigger force in hurling is because of the small area in which it is played. But Camogie Rovers, they've been really impressive, I think, this season, and they have dug out results in tight quarters, if you like. I mean, it went to extra time the last day against Mungle St. Paul's, and they were level at half time, even in extra time, and then they drove on from there. And in their previous match in the county final against Castlelyons, as some of you will be well aware, they were 8 points down, came back from that, and then won by a point. So, and I think they're a mixture of, obviously they're very talented hurlers, but there's some serious hard grafting goes on as well, and a lot of credit goes to their manager Sean Goheen from the Piercy. Actually, I think for those of you who would be into Irish literature, that he's a distance relation of Peg Sayers. They have a very good goalie Stephen Nine, and not alone in terms of blocking shots, but also he can score long distance for you. And if a penalty rose, he'd be well up to the mark and taking that. I think Brian Collins and Fergus Lorden, they make a very good central pairing, and then out around midfield area of Martin Collins and DJ Toomey, their forwards then, I've said this to you before, like that it's kind of a well-known fact in terms of their scoring forward, like their team captain Tygo O'Sullivan, and then you have Sean Toomey and Richard Sweetman. But Jerry O'Neill in particular, I think, is having a great season this year. He's a hard grafter. He's always been that, but I think he's added more to his game, and has been getting some good scores to them, so they carry our best wishes. That game, as I said, goes on in the Gaelic grounds and will be broadcast live on C103. Their programme starts out later on Sunday to cover that, and they will also be covered. John Cashman and Rachel Maloney will be involved there in covering that game. The junior final in Mallow is going to be an incredible occasion between Mitchelstown and Skehina Rinka, between Ballygiblin and Skehina Rinka. The footballing side of these clubs, Mitchelstown provide the footballing side of Ballygiblin, but they are two separate clubs, and Ballyporeen and are the football side of Skehina Rinka. No, there are rivalries. This beats them all as far as I'm concerned. Like, they're on the Cork Tipperary border. They're neighbours, they're separated by a stream, and if we can get by Sunday without one or two fellas in up inside that stream, I think we'll be doing well. When the tickets went on sale for this match, like, they went faster than the Garth Brooks tickets that went on sale a couple of weeks ago. Like, you will know, some of you will know that live up in that area, 28 of the 30 that will start went to the one school in Mitchelstown, so CBS. The other two guys, the Tipperary lads, went to Rockwell. And there's a gentleman I'd like to mention here, and that's Willie Duggan. Willie is a long-serving teacher at Mitchelstown CBS, has done incredible work in promoting Gaelic games in the school. He's found a supportive staff, I understand that. But he's been involved there he would know all of these lads. He would have probably taught some of them, but in terms of his involvement in Gaelic games, he would know all of them. And hopefully, if all goes well on Sunday, he'll be my co-commentator, and I'm really looking forward to that. The big story, of course, for Ballygiblin. I mean, look, these two teams have not won an awful lot. Ballygiblin won their first county when they beat Drumtara, and of course Mark Keane's goal that day was absolutely vital, and he's going to be back in action now again, back from Australia. I'm not too sure what's going on over there, but he's allowed to come home for this, and as far as I know, he'll be allowed to play. He will be allowed to play. But for Ballygiblin, as I said, or for Skehina Rinka, just up the road a little bit, Thomas Vaughan is a really good player for them. Conor Sweeney, who was an all-star from his performance with the Tipperary footballers, Ian English and John O'Callaghan are main scorers. Ballygiblin, of course, will be spearheaded by the aforementioned Keane, and of course Dara Flynn, who was a Cork under-20 player, and also with the Cork seniors now. Sean O'Sullivan, Michael Walsh, Dylan Sheehan and Joseph O'Sullivan are outstanding players as well, absolutely no doubt in the world about this. So I would imagine that, if Keane produces what he's well capable of, Mark Keane that is, I think that we could have a double celebration on the county on Saturday on Sunday with Courcey Rovers and with Ballygiblin. But it's incredible occasions for them, for both Cork clubs. But the Ballygiblin situation takes on a complete life of its own. Can you just imagine what it must mean for that area up there? Anyway, so that's that particular situation. Then we have moving to Camogie, and you will remember that when the County Camogie final was played way before Christmas, that Shandoon won their first county senior championship, and as a consequence of that, then of course they couldn't represent the county because they're a divisional side, and Inniscarra were the runners up that day, and they have really embraced the fact that they're now going to be representing Cork, and the semi-final the Munster semi-final will take place in Inniscarra on this Saturday at 1 o'clock, and they play Scariff O'Gunello, the clear champions, and this is going to be, I think, another incredibly close match. Inniscarra have won this championship in class, so have the Clare representatives, and they are a relatively new team, winning their second championship in 3 years there recently, and they have won this Munster championship in the past, and they have a number of players that would have lined up for Clare. But for, as I said, the Musgrave side, the Inniscarra side, they have really good players in Aoife Kavanagh and Katie O'Mahony, who kind of plays a bit of a, operates around the fence, and then you have Aileen Sheehan picked a corner forward, but again adopts a rolling role, and you have Claudia Keane, who was a Cork minor a couple of years ago at wing forward. The Casey sisters, of course, are vital to it. Joanne and her sister Ger. Joanne, who I believe recently got married to a Kilmorey player, I better say a Clodoof player as well, Sean Long. So yeah, we wished Inniscarra the best of luck, and it's nice to see that they are, availing of the opportunity. Sometimes when, a club is nominated, maybe it's not the same thing, but I think these really have embraced it. So they carry our best wishes. Did I mention Kilmorey there? I probably did. I believe they've appointed a new coach at the Kilmorey football team, and that's a guy called David Drummond, the teacher and coach for college. Played a good footballer, good coach, a native of Sneem and South Kerry, and of course his job up there is to ensure that will be to try and ensure that they go on and win a Musgrave Championship. So we'll be keeping a close eye on how he performs as well. The Harty Cup. Now it would appear that all Munster school games are going to take place. The senior games will take place on Saturdays for the moment. I suppose I can understand that, that is very, very difficult for school management to release teachers at this time. But the Harty Cup, there's 2 quarterfinals, there's 3 quarterfinals on a Saturday, there's 2 Cork clubs involved in them. Middleton CBS take on Artskull Reese in Mallow 1 o'clock on Saturday, and at the same time in Kilmallock we have Christians taking on St. Joseph's Secondary School from Tulla. And there's good that Cork schools are involved in at this stage of this competition, but hopefully the other Munster Championships will take place as well, for the schools that play in the B, C and D and E competitions, because it would be an absolute disaster in my mind if that didn't happen. So please God that will. This famous McGrath Cup, which is being played this week and next week. The final of it takes place, I think, is it next Saturday week. They've divided Munster into two regions. You have Cork, Clare and Waterford in one section, and then you have Kerry, Tipperary and Limerick. It started last night, and my God, I couldn't believe it. For Jack O'Connor's second coming, he named a team that there was basically 12 of them played at some stage in the All-Ireland semi-final against Tyrone. I just couldn't believe it. And they gave Limerick a right good hammering, 226 I think it was to 6 points, or 223 to 6 points. And all the big guns got in the act and and those that were playing the forwards obviously got in the scoring on the scoring stakes. Cork played their opening game on Saturday in Milltown Mallory when they take on Clare, and their second game is on Tuesday night against Waterford in Parking Arena at 7:30. It will be kind of interesting to figure out what kind of team that Keith Ricken and his large backroom staff will produce for this one. So that will keep us entertained Saturday evening as well. Interestingly, the Munster is a corresponding competition thing going on as well in hurling. It's they call it the Munster Senior Cup or something like that, Hurling Senior Cup. And because the Cork team are on holidays, they're not taking part. But talking to 1 or 2 individuals who were a little bit disappointed about this, because they thought that maybe Cork would have put in a second team like Dublin did in the O'Byrne Cup for all of the years that they won the All-Ireland. Somebody told me that Brian Howard actually was spotted playing in this competition, the O'Byrne Cup. But anyway, that's the story there. Moving on, and of course, in terms of soccer, I suppose the news from tonight's game in the Carabao Cup, that game is called off between Liverpool and Arsenal. I think it's been fixed now for Wednesday week or Thursday week, whatever date the 20th is anyway. Next week's game, see, it's a 2-leg competition. Why it has to be now, I don't know at this stage. COVID has really impacted on the English soccer team. I think in the Premier League there's been 17 matches postponed since December the 12th up to last Sunday. But interestingly enough, I don't know whether this is a bit of a light, if you like, that the past week, I think there was 94 players tested positive right throughout the Premier League, and that's down the first week that has been a number dropped in quite a while. So tonight's game has gone off because of problems at Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp and 3 of his players were missing last week for their game, and his assistant and a couple of more, so they've been granted. That game has been, as I said, postponed. Then we had the story with Chelsea during the weekend, last weekend, when Romelu Lukaku, their Belgian international player who played with him before, and then he was with Inter Milan, and he gave some, what these fellas are doing I don't know, but anyway, he gave an interview to Sky Italia where he more or less said, look, that he was unhappy with Chelsea and there was hope to go back to the Italian side. He has since apologised, and he turned up last night and played in the Carabao Cup, the first leg where they had a 2-0 win over Spurs, which was disappointing from Spurs side. So I presume that's out of the way now. And then we've the continuing crisis at Manchester United, defeated by Burnley on Monday night, and that was it. Show over there, Burnley haven't won at United in 40 years, and isn't that they're a top team or anything like that. And I think that after the game with Luke Shaw saying he's one of the players, we weren't all in it together. My God almighty, what's gone wrong there? Since Ralph Ragnick came on board, I think they've played 6 matches. They have won just 3 of them, only scored 7 goals, and they now have brought Mike Phelan, who's a bit of a legend in that club, back in to get the dressing room together. If you heard this happening in a TRWB club in Cork, you'd be saying, the name of God, what's going on? But anyway, that was that. Then moving on to the FA Cup is on this weekend, and there are, I think, there's 32 matches, starting with Man City and Swindon on Friday night, and ending, by the way, on Monday night with United playing Aston Villa. In terms of rugby, 1 game, and that's Munster versus Ulster, and after last week's defeat to Connacht, a lot of criticism, it must be said, of Munster, and coming in the way, and a lot of it directed, I suppose, towards their main man, Johan van Graan, who's leaving at the end of the year. But in Gaelic football, we often hear about the hen passing. There's too many. In rugby, seemingly the problem is the exact opposite. And Munster coming in, there's a lot of criticism for this. Seemingly when Ireland played us New Zealand in those autumn internationals, Guinness internationals or whatever you have yourself, the average number of hand passes was an unbelievable 217. But in Connacht versus Munster last week, that they made, Connacht passed 170 times and Munster only 45. So it would appear that some people are not happy with Munster's style of play, and that, in their, since the game against the Wasps, where they fielded, a very much untried team, they had a great result that day, that things definitely have gone a little bit downhill since. Moving on to tennis, and of course we can't forget the mighty carry on that's going on with this fella Novak Djokovic. He's a Serbian, he's the best player in the world. Well, he's 20 Grand Slam titles, and he shares that with 2 others, Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer. But he can go on ahead, obviously wins one more. But he has issues around this whole vaccination setup, and seemingly I was trying to follow this, that the Australians are granting the Australian Open, which begins on January the 17th. They had, I think it was 26 players applied for exemptions from being vaccinated, and they had there was a number of they appeared before 2 independent medical councils, if you like, and when that was held in, the results were given to they had to satisfy certain conditions, and the conditions are laid down by this group, listen to it, the Australian Technical Advisory Group, and they set the guidelines. Anyway, very few people got through, but one of them that did get through was Djokovic. No, he's a vaccination skeptic, and he's never revealed his vaccination status. No, he could possibly, I think he contracted COVID once, he could have contracted it again, and he possibly could get in that. But anyway, he announced on Instagram that he was on his way with the tennis racket. But when he did, Scott Morrison, who was the Prime Minister out there, the Banish door, he more or less said, "Bata agus bohor lat akara out the gap with you if everything is in order." Then the Serbian the Serbian President, a fellow called Alexander Vucic, he got involved in it and said, "Listen, this is our greatest sportsman. He's the greatest tennis player on the planet, and he's not going to be bullied or harassed by the Australian bureaucrats." So I could imagine the Serbian army could head over there and do a bit of damage before this is sorted. Anyway, I believe there's some sort of an inquiry or something on Monday to sort this one. But it's a bigger story, like, these vaccinated, these anti-vaxxers and what have you. And of course, he's now one of their heroes, if you like, and they're going to be backing him. Anyway, so that's that story. Then we have American football, and our producer reckons that we should take an interest in this. There's a huge interest in Ireland in American football, and it runs over a short season. September, I think it starts in September, and the Super Bowl takes place on February the 13th, and it takes place this year in a massive stadium, Sophia Stadium in Los Angeles. They tell me it is a couple of notches above Port Kiev. Now, there was 32 teams in the group stages, and there's now 14 left, and the playoffs start this weekend, and they will continue, as I said, up till the Super Bowl final. The favourites are the Green Bay Packers, and if you're bluffing about this, you must be well up to date on the quarterback. I think there's probably no other team sport where one person is so important. This is the guy that those who have only fleeting interest, you've got all the fellas belting and shoving and pushing, then the ball comes back to this guy and he has to be a massive catcher, but when he releases it, the accuracy of the pass. Anyway, the favourites of the Green Bay Packers, and their quarterback is a guy called Aaron Rodgers. The defending champions are Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and their quarterback, whatever about Djokovic, this fella Tom Brady, he was 20 years with the English Patriots and he won 6 Super Bowls with them, and then he went last year to this crowd and won again. A fella called Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable quarterback, and he signed a 10-year contract recently with Kansas City Chiefs. It was worth $450 million, and he's roughly on, give or take a few bucks here and there, €750,000 a week. Think about that now before you go out to milk the cows. It's obviously golf time again, and the PGA Championship gets underway, or the tour events get underway this weekend. And the reason why there's a little bit of interest in it is because the competition to the Century Tournament, it's on in Hawaii of champions, so everybody who won a PGA event last year is invited, and there was 39 winners and 38 of them are turning up. The guy that's absent is Rory McIlroy. I don't know why he's not turning up, but there is an Irishman in there, and that's the West Waterford golfer, Seamus Power. His caddy is Simon Keelan from Douglas, and I think it was 2 years ago, Seamus Power was ranked 446 in the world. Today he's 73rd, and that's an incredible progress. So we wish him the best of luck on that. So I think that's about it until we meet again. As always, take care, mind yourself, and I can't thank you enough for taking trouble to tune this way.